Hey everybody, this is Super Mike 2164. Please press the like button and share this message. I want to go over a couple of points that's very important for black people, especially a lot of black YouTubers, especially a lot of brothers, and of course the women too, to understand. Uh, This is a quick point about this language alpha, beta. We starting to use it as an insult, a lot of us. Uh, and it's really rooted in science, scientific studies. And we need to understand that this science was aimed at understanding how to prevent, how to, keep white male status. We live in a country that is a racist country. They have a pecking order. A racial group has pecking orders, and a pecking order is a hierarchy. In this book here, we have this thing called Dominance Hierarchy Studies, the pharmacological solution to keeping the black male subordinate. Pharmacy is talking about drugs, talking about, different chemicals. Hey, everybody, press the thumbs up and, spread the message for me. Just going to go through this real quick. And yeah, so what we're doing here is just reading a couple of points that's talking about alpha. This is where the real language comes from. Dominance hierarchy studies. This is racial categories group. We're reading from this book here. So the controversy over psychosurgery. Now, in this book, there's a guy named Frank Irvine. This is back in the 1960s. So the controversy over psychosurgery forced Frank Irvine out of Massachusetts General, and from Boston, he landed at the University of California in Los Angeles, UCLA, 1972-78, where he continued his violence research and even his psychosurgery research. He collaborated with a group of UCLA scientists who in the 1970s and early 80s conducted research on the mechanics and the biochemical role in social dominance hierarchy. They studied the interrelationships between dominant male groups, okay? Groups of people, dominance. In America, you got white people as the dominant male groups and subordinate male groups. And the primary subordinate male group in the United States that the white male group is concerned about is called the black male group, black community. And so they studied these relationships in animals first. So they studied the interrelationship between dominant male groups and subordinate male groups. What distinguishes dominant males from subordinate males behaviorally and biochemically, and how dominant male groups thwart or stop all the challenges from subordinate male groups to maintain their dominance. So you got to realize the name of the game of racism is not, go along to get along. The name of the game is dominance. If you become dominant, you win. So by studying the colonies of the African green monkey, vervet monkey, or Certopithecus, whatever that means, and applying the observation to human social settings, Michael Riley, Michael McGuire, and their team at UCLA postulated that a society's dominant males, DM, these white males, and the subordinate males, SM groups, black males, will engage in competitive relationships over resources, and each will display a wide array of competitive behaviors. And this is why we always end up fighting or competing against white people. They're always angry in competing against white people. Okay. Now, these people will engage in competitive relationships over resources, and each will display a wide array of competitive behaviors in order to gain the advantage to the other, maintain dominance in society, or acquire dominance in society. For example, the UCLA scientists postulated that increases in the number of subordinate male groups threaten population control. Increases in the number of subordinate males threaten the status of dominant males. Besides physically reducing and or restricting the number of actual subordinate males, a defensive strategy available to dominant males is to permit the subordinate males to freely engage in otherwise restricted illegal behaviors. This frequently engaged in deviant behaviors will distract the subordinate males from engaging in confrontations with dominant males. In other words, America's dominant white males gain an advantage by permitting subordinate black males to engage freely in illegal behaviors in isolated ghettos of America. For this keeps the black subordinate males from challenging the white dominant males. These green monkey studies were undertaken not just with human society in mind, but with an eye to biosocial control of black American males in particular. Beginning in 1975, the Operation Ferdinand operative and psychosurgery enthusiast Frank Irvine teamed up with his UCLA colleague Michael Rowley and J.W. Flannery and undertook a study at the Behavioral Science Foundation's laboratory in Estridge, St. Kitts. So they went to the Caribbean, and basically it will have ghastly implications for black life in the 1980s and 90s and beyond. The lab where these studies took place was housed in the slave quarters of a former sugar plantation. And it's a fitting setting and it's not by accident. So Irvine seemed to have had 4 research interests. He wanted to assess the impact of environmental change on the biochemistry of normal monkeys. For example, the scientists created experimental depression in some juveniles by separating them from loved ones and then measuring any changes in brain chemicals, studying the social consequences of scientifically produced brain damage. So the research damage, so basically they researched and studied the social consequences of scientifically produced brain damage. The researchers, he got that actually wrong. They need to fix that book. I think he meant the researchers, but he said researchers damaged the brain of some monkeys, some normal monkeys, through psychosurgery, removing tiny pieces of tissues from a part of the frontal cortex thought to be associated with emotional and mood, and then return the brain damaged monkeys back into the troop and study the behavioral changes in the monkey and how the troop responded to them, assessing the effects of brain altering drugs on the monkeys, making them crazy or violent. So they're using drugs to get you crazy and violent. We see that, right? People with all this bipolar syndrome, all these weird ADHD and AD and autisms and all this kind of stuff. So then manipulating the levels of a particular brain chemical, serotonin, and noting the behavioral consequences. Irvine and colleagues observed that the brain damaged males were less aggressive and spent more time alone, like Ferdinand the Bull. And that was a cartoon back in like the 60s and I guess the 70s. Ferdinand was like a Disney Channel type thing. So Ferdinand the Bull, and they did engage in, and if they did engage in any one-on-one fighting, they typically lost, limiting their access to resources, females, food, and shelter. They observed that social role and status impacted the consequences of brain damage. In other words, damage in the brain of a dominant male will produce behavioral consequences distinct from behavioral consequences caused by the same damage in a subordinate male. So the bottom line is this is science here. They literally studied and they end up finding that, psychosurgery, they couldn't do psychosurgery anymore because it was illegal. So what they did is they came up with this term called sociopharmacology, the scientific roots of urban carnage. So basically, they basically came up with socio-pharmacology, and socio is society, but then they add drugs to it. So it's society and pharmacology. And this is a study of the type of biochemicals and drugs that affect the brains in people. And then it can produce violence, it can produce weird behaviors. These are the type of things, and they attack the thing because serotonin, anything that attacks your serotonin is going to disturb you. That can give you signs of like mood swings. You can, and these are this chemical serotonin. It helps your brain to produce harmony, as your brain has all kind of different systems working and going. But when you have that serotonin working pretty good, you're able to calmly sift through the clutter. But what happens is when you have, and a lot of times if you read, especially in women, you read your diet, drugs, the things that they attack your serotonin to make you not want to eat. It kind of makes you depressed. And so, that's all I'm gonna read for now. But the bottom line, I wanted to read that because, we see a lot of people. This is how you can judge what alpha really is. A real alpha, he doesn't want to fight other males in his group. He wants to group up and become the dominant male in society. And those people are going to engage in challenging the group that is dominating society. And right now, the group that's dominating society right now is the white group. They are dominating society. So this is the reason why you hear certain people always talking about white supremacy, because those people are actually engaging in battle against the real dominant group in society. And then you see another group of black folks that always want to fight each other. They want to fight women. They want to argue against women and try to get, because they're having problems getting females and access to females. They're mad at the females and want to shame the females into, mating with them and stuff and obeying them and all these weird type of behaviors. So this is how we know who's dominant. A person like Kevin Samuels, this is not a dominant male, because he's going to obey the dominant group, which is the white supremacists in this particular society that we're in. So I just wanted to bring that to you. Yeah. But yeah, Coach, hey, what's going on? And he doesn't want to work to force anyone. He said, but he doesn't want to work. They want to force everyone else to work, like Cain. He didn't choose his best, but killed his brother that gave his best. Yeah, exactly. So, I just wanted to drop that for everybody so we can know what real alpha status is and why people who are not satisfied with being shot dead in the street at somebody else's given whim, not being able to change the laws. We got to go out and beg somebody to put some money into our schools and stuff like that. That's the status. We don't want that. Real alpha people, we don't want that. And that's female and male. People want to be in control of their own destiny, their own community. That is alpha. Those people who engage in the behaviors to try to get control of their children's and their destinies, that's alpha. People who want to, engage in all this gender warfare and trying to shame people, shame, men running around here having whole panels 8 and 6 hours long, talking about women and how child support is messing them up and, that kind of crap. Yeah, that's not alpha status. That's people that's pathetic, and they sitting up here mad because they don't have access, or they don't, access to, I guess, to control women or something. So that's it, guys. Just real quick, Super Mike out, y'all. All right, peace. Love y'all. Bye.